Okay, we are back. I don't know what happened. I'm just going to pull up Facebook on my phone here just to see what is happening over there. Okay. It shows that we're live now. Let's see. Anyways, let's just do a quick little recap because I'm going to go back and delete the other video that started. We started the live for episode 13 of Align and Allow. Something happened. We're not there anymore. That's okay. Episode 13 of Align and Allow. Today we are talking about how to harvest balance and reap the results of what you've planted. So if you're new to Align and Allow, if this is the first episode that you're jumping in on in these series, these are short little digestible episodes, usually around 15 to 20 minutes, and we go through three main mindset shifts and aligned actions for you to actually shift into whatever it is the topic that we're talking about. So going from this place of not feeling aligned in your work, feeling like you're overworking, hustling, doing the absolute most, being that busy human being, not able to rest, and really doing the mindset shifts and then taking the aligned actions and giving them to you to implement so that you actually start creating momentum towards your aligned way of working, setting that foundation up for your rhythm of rest so that you have that balance and that time freedom that you desire. Okay. These, like I said, are super short and sweet. We try to keep them that way at least. So grab your coffee if it is morning time for you. I have my tea here with my very fitting mug. And to grab a notebook if you want to take some notes, and we're going to just start to dive in right away. There are three main things that we're talking about today. And I like to just outline them for you so that you can really have that overview. I'm a planner. I love to see that kind of laid out for me before I dive into things. And then you can also, if you're catching the replay, kind of hop around based on what you feel you need most. If you are joining me live right now, please say hello. Drop a hello in the comments. Tell me where you are tuning in from today. Tell me one really great thing that's happened today. Let's take that time to shift your perspective into that abundance mindset and just kind of cultivating that gratitude here together. And then if you are catching the replay, comment hashtag replay, do the same thing. Let me know where you're at, how you're feeling today, what you are hoping to get out of this live session, out of this live episode. Okay, so the three things that we're going to be talking about today for harvesting your balance and reaping the benefits of the results of what you have planted earlier this year. So we're really going for the fall lingo and vibes today, but we're going to start by talking about leaning into the Libra legend. So Libra is the zodiac season that we are currently in right now, from the end of September to the beginning of, or the end of October. And really what this season is all about is balance and harmony. So we're going to be talking about how we can actually use the themes of the season to dive deeper into those things in our lives. And I'm going to share a little bit more about why I use this in my work and why I think it's important for us to be talking about these themes and kind of using that as a guide, okay? Number two, we're going to talk about the 3-level process for getting you grounded when life feels totally out of whack, right? So we're talking about balance today. We're talking about kind of slowing down in relation to celebrating what it is that you have created. And sometimes slowing down can feel kind of uncomfortable when there's like a million things that you can be doing and things that you need to show up for and commitments that you've made. How do we actually make time for that, right? So we're going to be talking about your strategy for doing that. That's really a core strategy piece, but I was also going to say aligned action that you can actually start implementing right away. And then number 3 for today is incorporating sustainable self-care for the busy human. And I put busy in my notes in parentheses because, or in quotation marks, because I don't love using the word busy, but it is something that's super, super relatable. So I think in terms of communicating a way that we feel and really understanding where certain narratives come from, it is important that we use the language that's available. But I think we need to, at the same time, be calling it out so that we can deconstruct it. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments. So you're going to be getting a few aligned action points for actually creating that rhythm of rest, incorporating this self-care, again, all as it relates to harvesting balance and reaping the results that you've created in the season of Libra. Okay, so let's dive in, and we're going to keep this super short and sweet today. Fingers crossed. Okay, so how do we lean into the season of this zodiac sign of Libra? So I'm going to just talk a little bit about the themes of what this season brings and then why it's important, okay? So Libra is really the season about balance and harmony. it's really about this time to say, okay, where can I bring more balance into my life? Where can I tap into this inner harmony within me? Again, we all have this ability to shift our energy to be in a particular state that allows us to feel grounded, that allows us to feel calm. Okay. And how can I use that and really kind of like illuminate that and spread that out into all these other areas of my life, right? And the way that I like to think of it is like this big wheel that represents all these different parts of your life. You have your relationships, you have your work, you have your finances, you have your, fun and recreation and your travel and exploration and adventure and like all these different parts of your life, the things that are important to you, okay? And it's a really great time right now during this season to take a little bit of an audit and see where you are at in those different areas. Which areas feel like really, really solid, and then maybe which areas feel like a little bit out of balance, or maybe there's a little bit of a tension, or there's this lack of harmony going on, okay? So that's really the first theme of the season of Libra. And that's what this time period right now, the energy in this time, is really asking us to consider and tap into. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments. Hello, I see some people are hopping on. Okay, so the second theme that we want to talk about when it comes to Libra season is this theme of beauty. And it really goes together super beautifully with balance and harmony. And what it means is to really start to slow down and kind of smell the roses, like slowing down enough to notice the beauty in everyday life, slowing down enough to notice the beauty in connections and in the small moments, and then also noticing the beauty within yourself. How can you do things that create beauty for yourself, that make yourself feel beautiful or tap into that inner beauty? Does that make sense? So really using kind of these two sides, like we want to be creating this balance. We want to be intentionally tapping into how can I create this harmony, and really seeing this concept and align action of beauty as a way to start doing that, okay? The third piece of Libra season, the third thing that we want to talk about today, is that it marks the beginning of fall, the season of fall. And Libra literally represents like the harvest, like we're harvesting what we have created throughout this year. And if you've been hanging out here for a while, you know we talk a lot about cyclical living and seasonal living. And fall time is really a time to start slowing down. There's a full Align and Allow episode. I think it was like 3 or 4 episodes back if you want to go check that out. Or you can drop a little comment in the comments and let me know that you want it, and I will add the link down there for you. But really, it's this time that is asking us to start to pump the brakes a little bit and come back to how we are feeling internally. What is it that we need? And again, this is a great combination with what is it that I need to create more balance? Where am I maybe out of whack a little bit, right? I've been doing all of these different things all summer. I've been feeling super active. The sun is shining. Everyone wants to get out and meet people and do things. Maybe you've launched something. And now it's time to like rebalance, reset, and reflect. What went really well this last little while? And this really brings us to like, we're harvesting this balance in this season, but we're also reaping the results. And what that means is like, how can I really celebrate what I've been harvesting? How can I really celebrate what it is that I've created? Because now it's coming to this culmination point. Now it's coming to this point where I am wrapping things up, and I want to reflect on that. Like, what are the things that I really learned from this? And again, how can I really use this as a perspective shift into abundance? Really coming from this place of, wow, it's so amazing that I did this. Before I jump right into the next thing, how can I slow down and appreciate this? Okay. And that brings us to point number 2 of this episode, which is the 3-level process for getting grounded when life feels totally out of whack. So that's really the purpose of wanting to do this process and to call this out when it happens and to come back into balance and use the theme of the Libra season to bring back in this balance is because we're so used to running around all the time, right? We're so used to be doing, being in perpetual cycles of, creating and executing, and it's exhausting. That's how we burn ourselves out, because we're not letting our bodies play out the full cycle where we actually give ourselves that time to turn inwards, come down, have that culmination period, and then actually rest. Does that make sense? Let me know if that's resonating with you. Okay. So when we do this 3 level process of grounding yourself, really being out of whack is just this process of not being in tune with ourselves, okay? And it doesn't need to feel, it doesn't need to be this big thing of like, oh my God, everything's a mess. Sometimes there might be a lot of things that feel like they're out of balance, but just knowing that this 3 step process, this 3 level process, it doesn't matter where you are on that scale of feeling like totally out of control or just like, ooh, there's some things that maybe aren't so aligned anymore. This is going to work for you, okay? So there is a process that I use, and I'll drop the link for that here as well. I'll actually do that right now for you. It's called the grounding zone. I'm dropping it in the comments for you right now. And the way that this works, and this is the first step to actually coming back into grounding yourself when things feel totally out of whack. And what it really means is like we have these different areas of our lives, and we just talked about that before. But what tends to happen is we kind of see ourselves as moving through the areas on the outer part of this wheel, okay? So if we have like relationships over here, and then we have friends and family over here, and work over here, and finances over here, and like fun and recreation over here, like we're like boom, 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 like a little ping pong ball, okay? And so what we really want to do is recognize that actually where we sit is at the circle at the inner part of this overall wheel, okay? This is our position, it's our circle, and this is our grounding space. And so often we leave our grounding space, this place, this grounding zone where we feel like, okay, I'm rooted here. I am grounding myself in my own truth, in my own power, in my wholeness, all on my own. Like I don't need these external things to feel completed or to feel held or to feel, fulfilled, although they are really nice things to have. Of course, we want that connection in life, but at its core, how can I ground myself right in where I am right now? And again, like I said, so many of us are living in these different areas of our lives. We're living in our relationship as opposed to first grounding ourselves in our own power. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments. I see some peeps are jumping on. Hello. You're welcome for the link. Okay, perfect. So that's the first step when we talk about the 3 level process for getting grounded when life is feeling totally all over the place and totally out of whack, okay? It's using this process of your grounding zone, and really there's a whole, in the link, you can go click on it, there's a whole process that it walks you through for bringing you back into that zone, and that's really the first step, okay? The second thing I want you to do, once you are in that grounding zone, once you have situated yourself there again and rooted yourself down there, is to go and do that audit that we talked about earlier and really address every area of your life. Like write out all the different categories and just notice where you feel this potential lack of balance and where you would lie on that scale. Like if 10 is like, I feel totally balanced, and then 0 is like, there's like some things that need to be cleaned up here, right? And I want you to just consider like, what is my intention for this space? Like let's take a relationship, for example. And you've been like living in that relationship zone. So you've been leaving your place of power to go step into that relationship sphere of your life, that category, okay? First, we want to bring you back into your power in your grounding zone. And then for you to look over there to that relationship zone and say, okay, what's not in alignment for me there? Like, why was it that I felt I needed to leave my zone of power here? And a lot of the times those are things that we just do completely subconsciously because it's how we have seen relationships work in the past. And we're like, oh, this is how I do these things. And so it might just be a process of rewiring that, or it might actually be, oh, I was triggered by something particular and I felt like I needed to go and take care of something, or I needed to go and fix something. So in last episode of Align and Allow, episode 12, we actually talked about the 3 big main narratives that keep us in a state of overworking, and that actually applies to a lot of other areas as well. So if you're feeling like, okay, I'm recognizing that I'm leaving my power zone, my grounding zone right here, and I'm going elsewhere to, for whatever reason, I want to understand what that reason is, go watch that episode. I think it's going to be super helpful, and you can, of course, go and drop some comments over there, and we can go chat about things there as well. Okay, and then number 3 of this 3-level process is body connection, okay? And we talk about this all the time here, the importance of connecting back to your body, because your body is the bridge between what you're doing externally and how you're feeling internally, okay? It's the mix between the physical and the emotional, right? Oh my gosh, we got a little cold going on today, guys. Okay. So, when it comes to body connection, then, what I really want you to start thinking about for this third level of this grounding process is tapping in to having this connection and conversation with your body, okay? And what this can really look like is you simply asking yourself when you bring yourself back into that grounding zone, okay, what does my body need right now? And how can I honor that even just a little bit? Does it need some nourishing foods right now? Does it need to get out in sunshine right now? Does it need to feel totally held in a warm bath? Can I do that later today? And what you can even do for this 3-level process is put some reminders on your phone or set an alarm and literally just say, tap into the grounding process, for example, and have that be the trigger for you to go back and do this 3-step process, okay? And this can happen at any point of the day. It's going to be really powerful for you during the season. Again, we're wanting to harness the energy of the Libra season because we're in it right now. It's so much more potent, and therefore it's easier for us to really work with it and lean into it because we're being energetically supported. And to really practice this 3-step grounding process during this season. Let me know if you have any questions about that. Okay. And now for point number 3 for today's episode of harvesting balance and reaping the results of what you've planted. So we're going to talk about how to incorporate sustainable self-care for the busy human being. And what I really want to touch on here is that sometimes self-care, especially if you are an ambitious human being and you are wanting to really, create this balance, but you're also like building a business or working at your in your career, or you are a stay-at-home parent, like whatever it is that you're doing, but you're like, okay, but I'm ready for the next level, or I also want balance and I want to feel more at ease while I'm working towards my next level, or more at ease while I'm at home with my kids or at my job or whatever it is. Sometimes self-care can just become one more thing on our to-do list, right? Especially if you're a to-do list maker. Raise your hand if that's you. Let me know if you love making to-do lists in the comments. Simple and oh, such a helpful reminder. Amazing. Yeah, the 3-level process is amazing. And that body connection piece, simple but very powerful once we get into it. So yes, back to your self-care routines. Again, this whole concept, and this is again what we see a lot in the industry of self-care and personal development, is do this routine, and like this is the perfect morning routine and the things that you need to incorporate into this. And it can get to the point where we're just adding a new to-do list to our already overflowing to-do list. Let me know if that resonates with you and if that feels true for you as well. Because we definitely, what we want to focus on today is that yes, it's important to have this rhythm of rest. And if you've been here for a while, and if you're a client, you know that I talk all the time about the crucial piece of having rest as part of your strategy. We need to have that slow down, do less piece in order for you to get the results that you want, okay? But if when you're in that place of rest, if you've said, okay, I'm going to take a bath and this is my self-care for today, for example, but at the same time, you're like still answering text messages and you've got a podcast playing and dinner's in the oven and like you're worried that your kid is going to come in and ask you 10 million questions, like that doesn't feel super restful, does it? Let me know in the comments if that feels restful for you. What it really comes down to is creating space where there is the lack of pressure, or where we're taking away the pressure of needing to perform and show up in a particular way. Does that make sense? It really comes down to the intention behind it, because we can say, yeah, I'm going to do a bubble bath and a face mask, and like that's really not the extent of self-care. That's a way that you can potentially practice self-care if it feels good to you, if you're being intentional in how you're showing up for it. But just doing those things isn't necessarily going to be the thing that, resets you or regenerates you. Does that make sense? Okay. So I want to give you just a few pieces that you can start to use so that you can incorporate more intentional and sustainable self-care. Because again, if it's just one more overwhelming thing on your to-do list, taking care of yourself and creating this time of rest and practicing pieces of self-care, it's not going to be sustainable, right? It's going to be stressful and it's going to be overwhelming. Okay, so the first thing to do is really create time to slow down. And when I say intentional rest space, an example of this could be literally blocking out a day or an hour or 30 minutes in your calendar where you don't plan anything, but you have blocked out the time as though it's an appointment for you, okay? I do these things called play days. And what that basically means for me is I will block out a full day in my calendar. And sometimes it's like weekly, sometimes it's monthly. It really depends on where I'm at. I prefer weekly, but you have to make this work for you. And where you literally don't commit to any appointments. You let the day take you where you want it to take you. And sometimes for me, that does mean working intensely on like a really cool project that I have going on. Other times it's like, I need to be in nature. Like, I need to get out of the city and I want to be in the mountains and I'm going to take the day to do that. But it's just about having the space where you can tune in to what your body needs again and make that a priority. Okay. And like I said, that could be 30 minutes at the end of the day where you have just blocked out that time and there is no pressure for you to have to take a bath or to have to do a face mask or to have to read. You could literally lay on the couch and stare at the ceiling, okay? But it's just about making that intention to have that time, okay? And what this really comes down to is the energy, like when I'm talking about like, are you stressed out or is it one more thing on your to-do list? Or are you being intentional with your rest? And what it really comes down to is the intention or the energy behind how you're showing up to that, okay? If you're intentionally slowing down and saying, okay, I am taking this time, I'm only doing this one thing, or I'm not doing anything at all, I've booked off this time, or if it becomes this thing that you may be compensating for, right? And that's kind of the example from before where you're taking a bath, so it feels good to feel like you took a bath, right? But you're also doing 5 million other things at the same time, so you're not actually getting the rest that you need. Let me know if that difference makes sense because that's a really important piece there. I need to learn more about creating intentional space for me and not multitasking so that I can truly reset, do less, and honor myself so that I am in stillness and in silence with me. Totally. So, a great question here is to ask, how does it feel to actually book that off? Does that feel like something that resonates with you in terms of strategy, like to make that time in your calendar? Or is it maybe something that goes a little bit deeper to say, okay, I booked that kind of time off in my calendar, but then I don't uphold it. So what is it that we need to look at there then to be able to say, okay, I'm not holding these commitments with myself. What do we want to unpack there? Does that difference make sense? Let me know in the comments if you feel like sharing. Okay, and then the final thing that I just want to tie it all back to is really take some time this week to reflect on your balance. And I love this comment right here because you're already doing it, that you're wanting to create more of this intentional space for rest and potentially see, okay, what does that look like in my life then? Like, how can I bring more of this in? The energy that we're in right now with the season of Libra is going to support you in creating this balance and creating harmony in the things that are feeling like there's a little bit of tension or a little bit of, imbalance right now. And really, what I would tie that back to right now, just to wrap us out for today, is where can you find the beauty in doing these things, in slowing down, in creating this intentional space? And like that could literally be, okay, I'm creating this intentional space and like look at how beautiful my room is right now. Or maybe I can buy some flowers and just like really get super excited and obsessed with like how beautiful these flowers are right now, right? Like how can we start to bring beauty back into the mundane, which is a way of helping us create this balance? Let me know if that makes sense. Okay. So we are at 20 minutes and I'm very proud of that. So I'm going to wrap us out for today. If you are hopping on live, let me know in the comments, or sorry, in the replay, let me know in the comments. I want to come hang out with you later. If you're wanting more support on any of these topics, you're wanting to dive deeper into things, you want my eyes on your situation, you're wanting to address some of the potential narratives that are coming up around you feeling needing the need to do more or work more or your inability to rest, there is a link in the description for you to book in a coaching consultation call, which basically just gives us the chance to look at your situation and just see what it is that you need to be doing next, okay? This is where a lot of people get tripped up and they feel like they need to be doing the absolute most or they're trying all these different strategies. And I'm just going to tell you right now, that's not necessary. That's not true. And I definitely don't want you going down the path, especially when it comes to rest and self-care, where you are doing all the things essentially, and it's just creating more stress because, again, not really the purpose, right? Okay, my loves, Let's just check comments one more time. Amazing. I wish you a wonderful Wednesday, a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you back here again for next week's episode.